This photograph shows the dry, excavated remains of Beersheba. For Jacob, this arid landscape represents the physical border of Canaan, and stopping here forces him into a profound dilemma. He has to choose between remaining in the Promised Land and facing starvation, or abandoning it to survive. The location carries immense theological weight. Before taking another step toward Egypt, Jacob halts the entire caravan. He builds an altar and offers sacrifices to the God of his father, Isaac, pausing completely at the threshold of the unknown. As night falls over the desert camp, that hesitation deepens into a profound vulnerability. The heavy darkness highlights his anxiety about leaving the territory his family was promised. He waits in the dark for some kind of divine validation before crossing the border. This encampment is a terrifying spiritual threshold. Jacob is actively weighing physical death by famine against the risk of permanent spiritual exile in a foreign empire. The silence breaks with a midnight vision. God speaks directly to him, calling his name twice, Jacob, Jacob. It establishes an atmosphere of absolute quiet intimacy in the middle of the desert. God delivers a specific three-part covenant in the dark. He tells Jacob not to fear going down into Egypt, promises to travel with him, and guarantees that he will eventually bring the resulting nation back to this very land. The message then moves from national strategy to highly personal comfort. God assures Jacob that his long-lost son Joseph will be the exact person to close his eyes when his life finally ends. Jacob goes to sleep as a hesitant, fearful patriarch. By morning, his psychological state has entirely shifted. He wakes up holding the sovereign blueprint for his family's survival. See the massive caravan of heavy wooden wagons and dense herds of livestock kicking up dust as they move deliberately across the sun-baked desert plain. The narrative meticulously catalogs the caravan, building a branching genealogical tree counting exactly 70 individual souls, the foundational seed of Israel. These diverse individual family members provide the raw biological material required to forge a future empire. By organizing and counting them this way, the text makes a clear statement. This is a highly structured nation-state in its embryonic stage, moving with purpose. Navigating an entire clan across the desert requires internal political stability, and the text specifically highlights the crucial role of Judah. Jacob makes a highly strategic decision. He pulls Judah out of the main column and sends him ahead as the vanguard to scout and navigate the final approach into the region of Goshen. This is the same brother who decades earlier led the plot to sell Joseph into slavery. Now he operates with newly earned status as the trusted, chosen emissary guiding the family toward that very same brother. The family's deep internal fractures have healed. That internal reconciliation provides the vital social architecture they need to withstand the immense pressure of living within a foreign empire. The harsh dust of the desert journey finally gives way to the lush, green, highly fertile sanctuary of Goshen. This image shows an ancient Egyptian chariot constructed of wood and gold. When Joseph hears his family has arrived, he mobilizes his own royal transport, using the sheer imperial speed at his disposal to race toward his father. The physical distance finally closes. Joseph presents himself to his father, falls on his neck, and weeps in a prolonged, exhausted silence. After 20 years of mourning, Jacob makes a simple declaration. Because he has seen Joseph's face and knows he is alive, he says he is finally ready to die. The defining tragedy of his life has been undone. That silent embrace collapses decades of deep grief, severe spiritual doubt, and vast geographic distance into a single, concrete moment of restoration. But the emotional reunion happens in the shadow of this landscape. This photograph captures the towering scale of the Egyptian pyramids. It perfectly illustrates the overwhelming, cultural dominance of the empire that now completely surrounds Jacob's small clan. Joseph begins shrewd political maneuvering. Look at this Egyptian wall art depicting herdsmen. He instructs his brothers to tell Pharaoh their lifelong trade is raising cattle. He sets a cultural trap, knowing an imperial rule. Every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians. The strategic genius is entirely counterintuitive. By openly embracing an occupation the Egyptians despise, Joseph guarantees that the empire will voluntarily segregate his family in the fertile, isolated land of Goshen. that calculated isolation secures their future. By weaponizing prejudice to prevent cultural assimilation, the family creates a safe boundary where they will incubate, multiply, and eventually emerge as the distinct nation of Israel.